Master, what can you achieve by mere lecturing and scholarship without discrimination and dispassion? God alone is real, and all else is unreal. God alone is substance, and all else is non-entity. That is discrimination. First of all, set up God in the shrine of your heart, and then deliver lectures as much as you like. How will the mere repetition of Brahma profit you if you are not imbued with discrimination and dispassion? It is the empty sound of a conch shell. There lived in a village a young man named Padmalochan. People used to call him Podo for short. In this village, there was a temple in a very dilapidated condition. It contained no image of God. Ashwatha and other plants sprang up on the ruins of its walls. Bats lived inside, and the floor was covered with dust and the droppings of the bats. The people of the village had stopped visiting the temple. One day, after dusk, the villagers heard the sound of a conch shell from the direction of the temple. They thought perhaps someone had installed an image in the shrine and was performing the evening worship. One of them softly opened the door and saw Padmalochan standing in a corner, blowing the conch. No image had been set up. The temple hadn't been swept or washed, and the filth and dirt lay everywhere. Then he shouted to Podo, "You have set up no image here within the shrine, O fool! Blowing the conch, you simply make confusion worse confounded. Day and night 11 bats scream there incessantly. There is no use in making noise if you want to establish the deity in the shrine of your heart. If you want to realize God, first of all, purify the mind. In the pure heart, God takes His seat. One cannot bring the holy image into the temple if the droppings of bats are all around. The 11 bats are our 11 organs. 5 of action, 5 of perception, and the mind. First of all, invoke the deity and then give lectures to your heart's content. First of all, dive deep, plunge to the bottom, and gather up the gems. Then you may do other things. But nobody wants to plunge. People are without spiritual discipline and prayer, without renunciation and dispassion. They learn a few words and immediately start to deliver lectures. It is difficult to teach others. Only if a man gets a command from God after realizing him, he is entitled to teach. Thus conversing, the master came to the west end of the veranda. M stood by his side. Sri Ramakrishna had repeated again and again that God cannot be realized without discrimination and renunciation. This made M extremely worried. He had married and was then a young man of 28, educated in college in the Western way. Having a sense of duty, he asked himself, do discrimination and dispassion mean giving up woman and gold? He was really at a loss to know what to do. M. To the Master. What should one do if one's wife says, "You are neglecting me. I shall commit suicide"? Master. In a serious tone. Give up such a wife. If she proves an obstacle in the way of spiritual life, let her commit suicide or anything else she likes. The wife that hampers her husband's spiritual life is an ungodly wife. Immersed in deep thought, M stood leaning against the wall. Narendra and the other devotees remained silent a few minutes. The master exchanged several words with them. Then, suddenly, going to M, he whispered in his ear, "But if a man has sincere love for God, then all come under his control. The king, wicked persons, and his wife. Sincere love of God on the husband's part may eventually help the wife to lead a spiritual life. If the husband is good, then through the grace of God, the wife may also follow his example." This had a most soothing effect on M's worried mind. All the while he had been thinking, "Let her commit suicide. What can I do?" M. To the Master. This world is a terrible place indeed. Master. To the devotees. That is the reason Chaitanya said to his companion Nityananda, "Listen, brother, there is no hope of salvation for the worldly minded." On another occasion, the master had said to M privately, "Yes, there is no hope for a worldly man if he is not sincerely devoted to God. But he has nothing to fear if he remains in the world after realizing God. Nor need a man have any fear whatever of the world if he attains sincere devotion by practicing spiritual discipline now and then in solitude." Chaitanya had several householders among his devotees, but they were householders in name only, for they lived unattached to the world. It was noon. The worship was over and food offerings had been made in the temple. The doors of the temple were shut. Sri Ramakrishna sat down for his meal, and Narendra and the other devotees partook of the food offerings from the temple.